everyone, it's me, Julie. I am so glad you are here. I am done a couple videos about the creation of this journal, and I took a little bit of a detour for a hot minute because I've been making some other little journals because I'm always making journals. In case you're new here, I am a journal maker. I'm a paper artist, and I've got a couple other little journals going on. So I usually get sidetracked by other pretty things in my craft room, but I am back working on this journal I started. It's gorgeous. I think I just got stalled a little bit. The napkin threw me for a minute, but I'm pretty sure I have it all figured out from here on out. And sometimes I do that. I have to give my brain some space to think things out. But I am going to go ahead and work on building signatures today for this journal right here, this pink garden journal. The only thing I've done since the last time we've been here, and I will link the last couple of videos about this journal in the comments, as I did put some interfacing here. I was just afraid the fabric was so thin, and even though I built up all these layers of felt, I still wanted more so that my stitching will be hidden because we are making a stitch hidden binding. But tonight we are going to focus on the good stuff that goes inside the journal, meaning all the papers to build signatures. So I've got some amazing pieces here. I'm going to show you what I've got, and I'm going to start folding them. The first thing I need to do though is I need to understand how big I need things to be. So I do always pull my ruler out. So when you are starting a journal, of course, you kind of go with what you have space for in your spine, and our spine was right at 2 inches. 3 signatures is always really good, at least 6 pages each, maybe up to 9 or 10, 2 if you want to, and then that would be, if you did 9, it's 27 pieces of paper, but then if you count all the sides because they're folded in half, so it's doubled, so it'd be 54. Is that right? The right math? Anyway, it's a lot. It's a lot of pages, a lot of sides to work on, and some are smaller than others because I do like the variation of different things. But anyway, like I said, I had 2 inches. We're going to be making a template to get our holes punched, and then the height of our book is a little more than 9, so I don't want my pages to be taller than 9 inches because I like to have a little visual gutter all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my pages are only 9 inches, and then that's tall, and then deep. You can see that my ruler, if my spine is sitting at my ruler, I don't know, I'm in the shadow. Let me readjust so you can see with me. Is about 5 3/4, but my ruler has a starter gap, so I need to go ahead and back it up probably 5 1/2. And then I know also that when you fold papers, the ones that go in the middle kind of poke out a little more just because, physics or whatever. And so I'm going to end up going with 5-inch pages, which if they're sitting here, like, that's a pretty good depth, I think, 5 inches. But also, what was I going to say? I don't know. I lost it. It'll come to me. All right. So 9 by 5. Oh, I know what I was going to say. But then I need to double the paper so that I can get 5-inch pages. And so 10 inches by no more than 9 inches was what I was going to say. All right. So our papers need to be 10 by no more than 9. So how would I get that going? Well, I would just figure out, see, this one is a 12.5-inch bag. So I will need to make a cut here and probably a cut on this side as well. And the height here is a little less than 9 inches. So it's good on height. I could trim it off on height, of course, but we're going to just make that happen. I do want to keep this little curved edge, but the good news is I can make my own as well. And I might make it on both sides. So if I cut it, I like to, instead of marking with a pencil, lots of times I just mark with my finger. So I'm just going to go a little bit above 10. I can see my nail mark there. And then I know that I can cut off. Here's a cute little scallop. It's a little bit different in this one, but you know, we're not going to worry about that. So then I'm going to go ahead and find my fingernail mark. You probably can't see it, but it's right there. So then I'm just going to start being mindful of which way my scissors go, which way I want the scallop to go. Just take your time and double check that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just cut across. I'm eyeballing. I know, I'm eyeballing. All right, if you can't cut straight, then draw your line and cut straight, and that's okay. You know, however you are is okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim up and open this end on this side, and hopefully it'll be a nice open pocket on both sides. All right, so that is how you can use a bag, and then you just sew it in, just add it to your signature like any other piece of paper. All right, hopefully that's all the finagling I will do. Oh yeah, it's nice and open. And then you just fold it, fold everything in half, fold, measure, line up the top and the bottom so it's as even as it's gonna get. All right, that's nice, that's pretty. Now this one, and I'll use my what do you call it, my trimmer, but tonight we're just rocking and rolling with our ruler. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and work through these real quick, get everything sized up, right? And then I'm going to explain to you putting them together. I'm going to keep it like that. It still looks a little long. But you can see what I mean when I say the middle ones will stick out more, because when you tuck them inside each other, they will just push out. So you just need to be aware that the middle pages will always be a little bit longer, and so then you can trim that up as you go too. I've also got several, this is scrapbook paper too. It's just a cut apart with 2 large 4x4 or 6x6 cards that I didn't cut them apart. All right, tons of book papers too. You saw, hopefully, from different vintage books I own. Some encyclopedias. There's also some music paper. Did you see that cool book I just had with the harmonica music in it? That's what this is from. How cool is that? I also have this Mimeo copy of Paper Roses. This was my dad's paper. His name is on it. So I've been saving it for a journal like this. And of course, office supply paper or just lined paper. This one's single-sided, but it's a cute little slogan from Studio Calico. Here's another piece of scrapbook paper, but it was 6x8. All right, this, I just found this over there on my desk and thought, well, that needs to go in. So it's like from an old magazine or an encyclopedia. Some vintage stationery items. You can see a card that's stunning. Probably needs to be the front cover. Some embroidery pattern things. All right, and then just some plain stationaries. And I have this vellum pocket thing. I'm not quite sure how to use. I thought about taking it apart and sewing on one side in the middle and then resealing it, but I can't get it apart easily. It's just, it's gonna rip. Just, I mean, kudos to Hallmark for their tape, or whoever made it, you know. All right, so, but anyway, you can see the stack of things I have to go in this book. It's pretty chunky, and then this guy will show up in it too. All right, but let's talk about how we're gonna get it done. So I don't like to use, I like to, how am I trying to say this? I want a variety. I love a variety. Height-wise, you can see I have a variety. Texture, color-wise is a variety, and that to me is super fun. So I'm literally gonna pick out probably what I think is some of my favorite pieces and then just start building. I love this one, and I love this one, super duper mucho. And I love the yellow gingham. I mean, I could literally, if you want, you could, you know, flip it out and do either side you wanted. But I think that card needs to probably be the front cover. So we're looking for something to help it be its best. All right, we want the card to be its absolute best because it's probably the most beautiful thing in the paper, in the selection of things I've got here. So I'm just gonna test drive her on a couple of things. No, that's not the right tone. I kind of am thinking this might be the one. Oh, so pretty. That's pretty. That's pretty. All right, it fights. It fights too much. It fights too much. And green and yellow are analogous colors, so we know that they look good together. I've got some more greens here. Nope. I like, if the butterflies are on the opposite corner, I would say yes, but they are not, and that, you know, happens for a reason. That's not the worst. I kind of like that green tone. Let's see what this pink looks like. I think we all know I'm going to go with the yellow already, but I am also, if nothing, I'm a, you know, equal opportunity. So we're just going to try everybody out before I say no. That's a no. So what does the green look like? Also a no. What's inside here? Is this that plaid? Oh, I love this plaid. I do love this plaid. So that's a no. And so what I am trying to accomplish is to get this book, this card, to just pop. That's not too bad. There's something that's bringing out the pinks in this one for me. All right, this pink, they're just pulling for it. That's not too bad. All right, but I really think the yellow is a standout. I hope you agree. So then this will be our start of our first signature. And like I said at the beginning of the book, I'm going to do 3 signatures because I find that 3 is easy enough for me to sew in, no problems. When you start getting more, it becomes a lot. So I do make them kind of chunky though, because I do like a lot of stuff in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is a busy page, so I'm going to look for something that's maybe not so busy, like maybe one of these graph sheets. And then I might find a vintage book page. Where's the little boy and girl? Somewhere. This one? See, she was like gardening, and I thought that was fun. All right, so she might go right inside there, maybe. Let's see, I've got tons of scrap paper, so I probably need to use more scrap paper. Because then something like this, and then put her in there. Yeah, I like that green with that, and it pulls out this green back here, and then something in the middle, maybe one of the, we have a vintage stationery already in there, maybe one of the music papers, the paper roses, because that's kind of special to me, so I want it to be front and center. Nope, not there. I wonder if I fold this guy over. And then when you start getting teeny tiny things in big journals, things start to slip around and slide around. But you know, it is what it is. So now I'm thinking I shouldn't have folded that. I should have just taped it in right there. All right, we'll grab another one of those. I have a couple more. All right, I need something else here. Something jump out at me, please. And sometimes you just kind of wait. You wait till it shows up. All right, well, I'm just going to call, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages in there. I'm going to call that good for the moment. And I'm going to start on my next one. I love this color, and I think if we put a little thing in front, and this is a little extra long, so I'm gonna have to decide, am I cutting it here, because then I'm gonna cut off words. It looks like it's gonna be a problem, but that's okay. I like it with the green. And then we're gonna put in a book paper here. I think I'm gonna put this book paper over in this other one. We'll revisit that here in a second. So no memento. Can't figure out how to open it up. There we go. Okay, there we go. We got a book paper in here. Let's get a plain paper in here. We've got this ledger sheet with a double fold piece, so we'll stick him inside, put our whatever this is inside, dictionary page or encyclopedia page. I need another scrapbook paper to go inside. We've got a double fold there. We've got green. Let's try the violet one. That's pretty in there like that. And then something in the middle, our harmonica paper maybe, or our little girl mixing or planting something here. Not mad at that. If I have a pretty image like this, sometimes I'll turn it inside itself, and then I'll put it in the middle of the book, and then when it opens up pretty. So I kind of like that. Okay, that's a good start on that one. Let's move on to our next cover page. This beautiful paper. Is this all we have left right now? This can't be the front because, okay, this is Pretty Roses. But I think I'm gonna go with this bright colored Vicki Boutin paper. And let's see, we'll put Father Flippin' Pancakes in here. Yep, that's good. We'll put in another graph paper as an interest. We got to put this paper in because I do love it. We got to get this thing in because, you know, we made it. And then another, I'm gonna have a vintage stationery in here. Maybe right in the middle. We'll sew that in the middle as a fold out. That's not bad. What else do I still have here? Or this one. Nope. Okay, so the yellow, I mean, it's okay there. I'm not mad at it. It's not too bad. And then what if we give it a little separation? Maybe we put it inside this. So this is how you do it. It's kind of a auditioning to see what you like, to see where you're going to put things. So I have 2 pieces of scrapbook paper, piece of ledger paper or graph paper, a vintage book paper, a bag that needs to be re-glued, another piece of ledger paper, and a vintage piece of stationery. All right. So that's what we got going on. That's our signatures so far. And this is what we have left. So let's see if we can't sneak a couple more things inside. All right, so this is the process of getting a couple more things into look. So I want to see how this looks with our, where's like that? Is that too much? Yep. I'm not a fan of that right there. All right. But I wonder if one of these might be a nice little moment to peek out of with the flowers. I wish I had something pink that would fit. But that's not too bad. I kind of like it. Just gives it a little bit of a detail, and then when you open it, you've got blackberries and a, what is this? Almost looks like a little hammer. But it's okay because I like the vintage feel there. That's nice. Right, that's very nice. How about this one? Let's see. We put him. I do love the crinkle of the paper. Let's see. Oh, I'm questioning my stripes. I'm questioning the stripes. Let's see what else we can sneak inside here. So we've got some book paper, ledger paper, scrapbook paper, another vintage book paper. I wonder if we can't sneak. So I think I might just like pin this on here so you can take it off and look at all sides. I'm not mad at that. I think I'm gonna just leave it as is. But let's put another piece of something in here. I think this brown one looks like he might fit in with this whole color scheme, and it's kind of hidden. And then you can, if you've got different heights, you can pull them up or pull them down. Huh, okay, that's better. You kind of pull it down. All right, I'm gonna have to figure this out. I don't know what I was thinking. We'll get that figured out. One option, we have to trim here, which is fine, except then you lose the, probably the PIL here, and it's just ing up the memories. Or you can trim here on this side and you just retape it back together, which is sounding like what I'm probably gonna end up doing. All right, we have this. Let's find our doily, and I think we'll wrap our doily here and just get a little wrap going like that. Cute. And I think maybe if we put him, but it's on the other side. piece on the other side. So, okay, I have not finished that out yet. Let's see what this looks like here. Some book paper. This is just plain white paper. We'll just sneak it in. Not in that one with the pocket. We'll sneak him in here somewhere. There's a lot of white in here already. Okay, this is what we have so far. This one, this is the back, this is the middle, this is the front. All right. That's how we have them organized. All right, and we have 1, 2, 3 pieces, and 1, 2, 3. All right, so I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna put anything else in here. I think this piece needs to go in because it's just such a good piece. So let's find a spot for him, because this is just how you do it. It's just how you do it. I mean, we'll just put 2 together. No? I like this one with her. And there, that's kind of pretty. Let's put those guys together, and then the green is here to make me happy. All right, there we go. And sneak in. We already tried the white paper in here, didn't we? Yeah. But we have one more book page, I think. Could be successful somewhere. Let me sneak this white paper in here, I think. Because it's smaller than this one. And it makes it kind of interesting there in the middle. 2. And then I still have 2 pieces of scrap-book paper. This one's very foresty, but I do love the plaid. What if we sneak a piece? Look at all that pink. Like when you open it up, it's just pink, lots of pink. So let's see if we can break that up. It's still kind of pink, huh? Flip it. Is that too much? I don't know. And green and blue. I don't know. Well, let's just go with it for now. Okay, so we have almost all our pages in. So we didn't get these 3 in, and we can always add them if we need to somehow. All right, so here's our signatures. This is the middle, this is the back, and this is the front. All right, we are ready to get them organized and sew them in. All right. When you have your spine, of course, we're going to do the hidden sewing. So we're going to sew through the glued one here, but we're not going to sew through the yellow one on the back. We're going to sew it, have the things, the ends pull out here, knotted here, and then we'll cover them up so you won't even see them. That's the point of this type of binding. What you need to do is make yourself a template. This one just happens to be on my desk. It definitely doesn't fit this book, but this is the goal of a template. All right, so let's go ahead and make one real quick. You need to get a piece of cardstock that is the same height. Paper here, I have some brown craft paper here. All right, but we're gonna make it like this. So our goal is to make it 2 inches, because that was what I measured my spine at. 2 by Then the height, if you get the exact height, it just makes it easier every time. 9 1/4. So 2 by 9 1/4 is what I need my template to be. And of course, the only way to get 9 1/4 is to go this way. So I start with 2 this way. And 9 1/4. All right, and then half of 2 is of course 1. So then you're gonna start scoring. I have my old scoreboard here, my old score pal. So, gosh, it doesn't even cut it at 2. So we're gonna each it over and get to about even, and then score it at 1. All right, we got our middle-ish, and then we're going to hit out to it even. So here's 1, here's the middle, and then here is a 1/2 inch here and a 1/2 inch here. So that is what we're going to hit, a 1/2 inch and a 1/2 inch on both sides. All right, and then you want to go the other way, find the middle. So if it's 9 1/4, it's 4 1/2 and 1/8. So 4 1/2 right here. I don't really need 1/8, so I'm just gonna inch it out just a teeny tiny bit and give myself a middle mark right there. So half of 4 1/2 and 1/8 is gonna be 2 1/4 and a little bit. So I will once again just each it up, 2 1/4, where's a quarter mark. That's why the old score pals are not the best, because they didn't mark every 1/4 inch. So you kind of have to figure out which way you're going to find your 2 1/4 inch. Here's 1, 2, and here's a 1/4 inch right here. And we just give it a little bit. All right, now flip it and do the same thing there. About like that. All right. And if you like 5, or if you like 3 holes, you can stop here. If you want to 5, then you can just find yourself a little bit closer areas there. But I am going to go ahead and do 3 because I am going to be adding glue to this spine. Holes are not necessary, but they definitely make it easier. All right, I love that. So I'm going to go in, and anywhere there's a cross, or a meeting of the lines, I'm going to punch with my Crop-A-Dile. So this side is a little bit bigger, and so I would, since it's a little bit bigger, if it was exact, I wouldn't mind, but it's a little bit bigger. I can just tell I'm just going to put it to the front. Make sure this is the front. It is the front. All right, a book cradle and some sort of awl. So I just used an old telephone book. All right, and then I'm going to put my template in, and I'm going to clip it on in place so there's no question of where my hole should go. Sorry, I'm so close. All right, it's not straight. I think when I hit the camera, I kind of moved it. All right. Okay, now that I've got everything all lined up and I've got it clipped in place, it seems to be in the perfect position. I'm going to take my awl and I'm going to just press as hard as I can into the phone book and try to get all the way through, which was really hard, honestly. I've got this new book binding string. I'm going to go ahead and try it out on this one. And you can see I'm kind of gently measuring how much I need. I use a double length. I'm only doing 3 signatures, and I'm going to get a double length. And it's more than I need, honestly. But trust me when I tell you, it's better to have more than to have not enough. So always cut just a little bit bigger. All right, I've got some small pieces in my signatures, so I want to hold them in place as much as I can so they're not sliding around while I'm trying to punch holes in them. So I use my biggest paper clips to hold them in, and then I get some binder clips and clip everything else together. And then I sit it, or I bend up the template and sit it down all inside the crease of the open phone book. And then I have a book binding cradle to poke my holes in. I take my awl, I line everything up as best I can and poke them in. Poke holes all the way through everything. Now leave it clipped together. That's the secret. Don't take it off. All right, and the holes were a little bit off center, but I'm not mad about it. I will make the adjustment in the next signatures. All right, if you want to have your knots on the spine on the outside, then you have to start from outside the book. So the tail is sitting outside. And here's where I realized my holes did not go all the way through, so I'm taking a moment and just re-punching them all, making sure they go into the phone book. I've got so many layers here. It really is a lot to go through, and my Crop-A-Dile didn't have enough clearance for me to shove all these layers through to punch holes, so that's why I'm just using my awl and doing the best I can. The needle gets a little tough here after a while, so I'm going to grab my pliers in a minute and start using those. But you come up from the outside, through the spine, through the signature to the middle, and then back down through the middle of the signature, back out through the next hole in the spine. Pull it all the way through. I do not tie a knot. Like, I have a loose thread hanging from where I started because I tie that one together at the end, and that's fine. I can do that. If you need to tie the knot, tie the knot. Otherwise, I'm just kind of watching it, making sure it's not moving too far. Remember, this is a hidden binding spine. Did I say that right? Hidden sewn spine, whatever. All right, and so nobody's even going to see my signatures anyway. Or, on the outside of the book, nobody's going to see it, so I'm not worried about it. So then I go back down through the very last hole and then bring it back up through the signature and back down the middle again to the back of the spine. And here's where I get the pliers because it did become a little hard to pull it through because it's so thick. And the needle is a pretty big needle. All right, and then just pull everything as tight as you can and tie it off. All right, and you can see it's easy to tie, but that's because I cut extra. If you don't cut enough, then you have teeny tiny pieces to tie, and it's super duper hard. All right, plus when you cut those pieces off, I'll use them on tags or something. I don't waste them. All right, first one in. Okay, signature, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to clip all the parts together. I'm going to punch the holes using the template, and then I'm going to sew it in, starting from the outside through the spine first and then into the signatures. The only thing I'm going to do different with each spine is I think start in the hole or a new hole every time. Like the first one I start in the top, the second one I'll start in the middle, the third one I'll start in the bottom hole, and that way the knots are all varied across the spine. They're spread across the spine. I don't know, it seemed like a good idea at the time. No reason for it, just seemed like a good idea. All right, I'm using the same template. You can see now how the top comes in handy because you definitely don't want to be punching holes the wrong way. All right, and I've turned my awl and kind of pushed a little bit towards the right, and it just lines up the holes better going into the center of the phone book. All right, we are ready. Going to cut my string and let's do it again. Okay, I'm ready for the third signature, and I realize I haven't dealt with this extra long page wrap piece yet, so I did end up just cutting them in half and then slicing a little bit off each one to make it around 10 inches. And I'm going to join them back together, and I'm going to join them in an opposite way now, and just using some Tim Holtz tissue tape, but I like to add glue stick to it to make it more permanent. I just run it across the top of the glue stick, and then I'm going to line them up, leaving a teeny tiny little gap. There's a little extra glue on the edges to make sure it's nice and secure. Trimming off that long piece there, try not to cover up the word at all, and then just adding, or I did add a little more glue to hold it over, and I'm going to add a different piece right down the middle just to be a little bit decorative and different. All right, now she's ready to go. So I'm going to get everything lined up. And so you can see here, I definitely want those papers to not move. So that's why it's important to get your longest clip just to hold all those pieces in place where you want them. Because remember, I wanted that wreath piece to be higher so that the little brown drawing piece will be lower. And then these big clips will reach that little house paper that's there in the middle. So it's just important to hold everything in place as much as possible. just measuring everything up as close as I can to make sure it's perfect punch. All right, so just take your time, line them up, hold them in place before you punch your holes. All right, you'll definitely be happier. Also, double check before you sew. Make sure everything's the right side up. Make sure everything is facing the direction you want it to face. And just like that, everybody is sewed in and secure. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. There's plenty of space in the book to add things. There's lots of pages, lots of pretty things in there. And then you can see I've got all the felt and all the layers to cover up the stitching. Can you feel the knots? Yeah, a little bit. All right, but once you add other things to the spine, you won't even notice. And then what I'm gonna do is cut off the yellow gingham fabric a little bit and then tuck it up under the signatures. You've got all that room. You've got about at least 1.5 inches before a stitch starts to tuck it up there. I'm just kind of showing you how to do it right there, but I am going to go back and add glue and get it nice and secure. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.